Greetings, Prime Agents. My name is Williams, and I supervise the Illinois Home Care Ombudsman Program. I've been in a supervisory capacity for this program for about 6 years. A little bit more about my background. Received my undergrad degree from Eastern Illinois University in community health education. Received a master's degree in public health from the University of Illinois at Springfield. Have been in state government in advocacy probably about 20 years, and I'm just here to share a basic overview of the Illinois Home Care Ombudsman Program. So excited for the opportunity to present to you. Definitely want to thank you for your advocacy work when it comes to class members. And I'm very much looking forward to ways that our programs can collaborate in the future. With that being said, we're just going to dive right into the presentation. So again, today, just going to share a basic overview of the Illinois Home Care Ombudsman Program. Most people are familiar with the traditional, the long-term care ombudsman program. We're going to talk about how those programs intersect as well. So the purpose of the Ombudsman Program, and when I speak about the Ombudsman Program, I'm talking about the traditional program, which is the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and the Home Care Ombudsman Program. When you hear me speak about residents, I'm talking about those individuals who live in the long-term care setting. When I talk about participants, I'll be talking about older adults or adults with disabilities who live in the community. So the purpose of the Ombudsman Program in its entirety is to ensure that residents and participants receive quality services and are able to live a dignified life at the highest practicable level. A little bit about our structure. We're housed in the Department on Aging. We have an office in Chicago and an office in Springfield. Our supervisor for the Ombudsman Program is the State Ombudsman, Kelly Richards. She oversees both the traditional program and the Home Care Ombudsman Program. In the Chicago office with Kelly, we have the Deputy State Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and they kind of oversee the traditional program in the northern region. And then we have the Deputy State Long Care Ombudsman who oversees the central and southern region. And then there's my position as Deputy State Home Care Ombudsman. I oversee the Home Care Ombudsman Program. And of course, we have office supports. With the traditional program, there are 16 regional programs throughout the state. The regional ombudsman supervises those 16 regional programs. The long-term care ombudsman are the individuals that go into the long-term care setting and provide advocacy services to residents who live in long-term care settings. And they also have volunteers who go in and assist the long-term care ombudsman. With the Home Care Ombudsman Program, I have 5 persons on staff right now. We have 3 staff people that cover the city of Chicago, the Collier counties, and the far western portion of the state. And then I also have 2 home care ombudsmen that service central and southern Illinois. A little bit about our authority. In 2013, the Illinois Act on the Aging was expanded, and the long-term care ombudsman or the traditional ombudsman got the authority to advocate for individuals outside of the long-term care setting. And that program started off in 2014. By 2017, we decided to revamp the program, and we brought it back in-house at the state level. And that's when we hired the home care ombudsmen, who are not long-term care ombudsmen, but strictly work on resolving complaints and advocacy for people in the community. The goal of the Home Care Ombudsman Program is to ensure those individuals who receive services through the Medicare Medicaid Alignment Initiative or through the Home and Community-Based Service waivers receive a high quality of services so they can stay in their home and to reduce the long-term care ombudsman placement. There have been numerous studies that show when individuals are able to get care in their homes, it's an alleviation of the cost burden on the state, because not everybody needs that level of skill care. Sometimes they just need a little bit of supports and services, and they would be able to maintain in their own home. And of course, people have a better quality of life when they're in their own home, when they're in the community, when they're surrounded by loved ones, when they can have their family and friends, just a better overall quality of life. So our goal is to ensure that individuals have services that they need so they can age in place in their home. Our core components are, again, complaint resolution, responding to inquiries or questions that we may receive, providing referrals. Sometimes we get individuals that call and are wanting services outside of the scope of services that we may provide. They may want a list of personal assistants, and we'll refer them to the local Center for Independent Living. They may want SNAP benefits, and we'll refer them to the appropriate agency. We do conduct community education sessions similar to the one that I'm doing now, and we do outreach sessions where we'll do a presentation at a health fair. We'll have our tablecloth. We have the best writing ink pens in the state of Illinois. We have a bookmark ruler magnifier that seniors absolutely love because it kind of magnifies things and they can put it in their pockets. We also have business card magnets that have our contact information. They can stick them up on the fridge for easy access. We also attend stakeholder meetings, whether it be within the disabled network or within the aging network. We attend managed care organizations, and we continue to bring up concerns that our participants may have regarding service implementation or service delivery. We also conduct issue advocacy. If there are any issues that other governmental agencies or policy makers need to know about that affect or concern our participants, we definitely raise awareness on that level. And a lot of people want to know exactly what is it that you home care ombudsmen do. The first thing we do is really educate participants about their rights as being an MMAI recipient or being a waiver recipient. And we'll kind of talk about that a little bit later. We have a home care ombudsman fact sheet that kind of spells out what their rights are. We have brochures that spell out what their rights are, and it kind of tells them step by step what to do if they feel that their rights have been violated. Once an individual calls us and we're made aware of their complaint, we work with them using time-honored problem-solving skills to resolve whatever their complaint is. If it's a complaint regarding decrease in service hours, we let them know who's involved, what the next steps are, and we're participant directed, which means that we don't take any initiative, we don't make any moves, we don't have any phone calls without the participant's consent. Part of our consent process is getting releases of information where the participant signs releasing us to speak to the individual and giving permission for the individual to speak to us. And all of our services are confidential. If the participant receives an adverse action notice, decreasing services or modifying their services in any way, we assist them in appealing that decision, and we will stick with them if it goes all the way to the fair hearing process. We assist participants in filing grievances or formal complaints when necessary, if there's something that has happened or if someone has spoke to them in a way or it's been a significant delay since they received services. We definitely assist them in filing a formal grievance or a formal complaint. Again, if it's something that falls outside of the scope of work of the Home Care Ombudsman Program, we will definitely provide an appropriate referral. And we don't duplicate services. We are not case management. Typically, there's already somebody in that capacity. And what we're just making sure is that there is not a breakdown in services, or if the participant can't adequately communicate what their needs are, we become that voice and we advocate on their behalf. We pride ourselves on not duplicating services. So I like to describe us as like an ad hoc problem solving team. We come in, We work to resolve the complaint, and then we close the case with the Home Care Ombudsman Program. A little bit about who we serve. Again, I've been alluding to the fact that we serve individuals who receive services through the Medicare and Medicaid Alignment Initiative and those who are on the home and community-based waiver services. There are 9 waivers in the state of Illinois, but the Home Care Ombudsman Program only provides advocacy services to 4. So the Medicare Alignment Initiative is a demonstration program between the state and the federal government. Essentially, individuals who receive full Medicare and full Medicaid, they have their Part A, B, and D services coordinated into one. There's one health plan, one health care card, there are no premiums, and there is a coordinator of services. So again, MMAI is now statewide as of July 1, 2021, and it's for individuals who receive full Medicare, full Medicaid. Some of the services that are covered by MMAI are your doctor's visits, hospital visits, adult dental, durable medical equipment. And again, the Home and Community-Based Waiver Services Program, there are 9 waivers in the state of Illinois, but the Home Care Ombudsman Program provides advocacy to 4. And essentially, a waiver is something that says, hey, typically you would need this high level of skilled care, but we see that you don't necessarily need it to that point. So we're going to waive that requirement and allow you to receive services in your home, your apartment, in the community. The 4 waivers that we provide advocacy for are the Department on Human Services Persons with Disability Waiver, HIV/AIDS, brain injury, and the Department on Aging's Elderly Waiver. And I just want to take a few minutes to look into these waivers and kind of show you a little bit about eligibility requirements for the waivers, what's included in services, and the difference between the waivers. So the first waiver that we are going to briefly talk about is the Persons with Disabilities waiver. Here it shows you the eligibility criteria. You can see the services that are available, personal assistant. You can either have homemaker, you can do adult day. They have home delivered meals. They have emergency response and different types of therapy. Here is listed the entry points for services, and it even talks about the managed care programs that are associated with this particular waiver. Next, I'm going to show you the traumatic brain injury program, the eligibility requirements, the services that are available through the waiver, and how to access the service waiver. All this information can be found on HFS's website. And also, again, persons who are elderly, which is through the Department on Aging. Here we still have the eligibility criteria. You'll notice with aging, their in-home services, adult day, and emergency response. So their service options are a little bit more limited than those through DHS. It also talks about managed care and how to access those services. I did talk about Health Choice a little bit. Health Choice is the mandatory managed care program for Medicaid recipients, and a lot of our waiver participants are enrolled in one of these health plans. So when we do our advocacy work, we are constantly in contact with any of these plans, either through MMAI or through the waiver. And we do have a contact person at each of the plans that we can escalate issues up to. Just wanted to again show a little bit about coverage. This map has been updated to include all of the service areas for Health Choice and for the waiver. So I just wanted to briefly share this with you. This was also in your supplemental packet of information because this can be a little small, but just showing the statewide coverage for the health choice plans over here. And then MMAI, the 5 plans that they have and the service areas that they cover through the state of Illinois. So you also have that in your packet to reference if you aren't familiar. So a little bit about the intake process for the Home Care Ombudsman Program. Typically, complaints or inquiries are routed through the Department on Aging Senior Helpline. Occasionally, we'll get a handwritten letter or typed letter in standard mail, or the majority of the complaints go through our general mailbox. I review all the complaints for appropriateness to make sure it's something that we would assist with. And then I assign cases to the Home Care Ombudsman Program. Prior to COVID, cases were kind of assigned based on the geographic location of the participants and the complexity of the case. Now that we are kind of still working from home, cases are more assigned on the caseload versus the normal geographic location. But essentially, I review all cases and assign them to the Home Care Ombudsman Program. Typically, our response time is 24 to 48 hours, just depending on the workload. And if it's a more complex case, we try to get back within 24 hours. With COVID-19, it has kind of shaped the way that we do complaint advocacy and resolution. Of course, at the beginning of the pandemic, when the governor issued the shelter in place order, all ombudsmen, including volunteers, were not allowed to visit facilities, do home visits. We couldn't do any type of education or outreach, and we couldn't attend stakeholder meetings. But now that we are in phase 5 and the weather is nicer, when it comes to facilities, the majority of facilities are allowing visitors either in an indoor or outdoor capacity. We still haven't done many home visits. A lot of senior and disabled people are still very hesitant about allowing individuals in their homes. So again, the majority of our complaint resolution is done over the phone. We are doing very limited outreach in the community. My staff have PPE when they go out. We've done a few legislative events as the weather has been getting warmer, but they have not been attended very well as in times past. Before, there may have been 200 or 300 people in attendance, and now we may get 20 or 25 people. People still are not really confident about going back out into the public as of yet. But we have been thinking about new and creative ways to get the word out about the Home Care Ombudsman Program. We've launched a billboard campaign in Champaign, Key, Peoria, and Springfield, and the Collar counties that kind of have our information up on billboards. So if you see a billboard, then you know it's us. If you're like, yeah, just talk to those people. And we still do attend stakeholder meetings, but via virtual platform, either via WebEx or a Zoom meeting. And it will kind of remain like that until further notice. Again, the way that COVID has impacted our advocacy is that instead of those in-person meetings with individuals to do complaint resolution, the majority of our complaint resolution is conducted telephonically or through email. A lot of times we still need those releases or consents, and they're being sent through a secure fax or secure email. And one of the things that we've done on our end is to alleviate the burden of postage is to send standard mail business reply envelopes. So the individual just needs to send the email back and they don't have to worry about postage. And again, we are still attending stakeholder and outreach meetings for the disabled and the aging network that are being held virtually. One of the big game changers for our advocacy is federal guidance during the national state of emergency or the pandemic. And this was issued for the home and community-based waiver services. And essentially, it said that services may not be reduced or terminated during the national state of emergency, even if the participant no longer scores a 29 on the determination of need. And as you know, the 29 is the minimum eligibility requirement. So if the person has a reassessment and they may score 25 during the national state of emergency, services cannot be terminated. And the same holds true even if they're no longer financially eligible for the program, or if they're non-compliant via administrative code, policy, and procedures. If the person can't be reached, the services still can't be terminated. And if the person chooses not to apply, or for whatever reason has not applied for Medicaid, they cannot be terminated during the national state of emergency. So services have to remain the same. They can't be terminated. And we've had a few complaints where providers have tried to terminate services, and we just send out the National State of Emergency Act either from the Department on Aging or the Department of Human Services, and just remind them that services have to remain in place during a national state of emergency. There are a few instances when a case may be closed. And that's only if the participant passes away, the participant has moved out of the state, which would make them no longer eligible for the LMA program. If the participant moves into a long-term care setting, or if the participant transfers to another agency, meaning they're going from aging to from DHS to aging, or another type of waiver, or if the participant themselves request that services be terminated. A lot of people want to know, like, when do I contact a home care ombudsman? When would you guys want to be involved? Do we have to wait to the appeals section? Like, when is a good time? And the rule of thumb is that if you feel that a person who is enrolled in MMAI or is receiving waiver services, if you feel that their rights have been violated, go ahead and give us a call. And I do want to stress that the individual has to be receiving services through MMAI or a waiver. They have to be approved. So if this is a pre-application or they're appealing a decision that they weren't accepted into the program, they'd be witnesses. We typically refer those people to the Center on Independent Living for advocacy. But if it's a person who's currently receiving services, or they feel like their rights have been violated, go ahead and give us a call. If it's a person who is receiving services through MMAI or waiver, and they've gotten an adverse action or something saying that their service hours are not being fulfilled according to the service plan, that's kind of something that we're seeing a lot of now. For example, if a person is supposed to be getting 40 hours a week and they're only getting 20, or they're only getting 15, or the homemaker agency isn't sending out a worker, that's something that we would assist with. If their service hours decrease, and this is during the pandemic or after the pandemic, if they get an adverse action notice, we'll assist in them appealing the decrease in service hours. If there's any change or termination of service, will assist in appealing that decision. Or if the participant is asking for a service and they're not getting a response from their MMAI managed care organization, the waiver provider, or one of the health choice MCO plans, we can assist with that. If the participant needs assistance with filing a grievance or the formal complaint process, we definitely assist through that. Or if you just have any question in general about the Home Care Ombudsman program, or whether or not we would assist, we would definitely rather that you call. And even if you're working on a case, you don't necessarily want us to take over, but you may want assistance with escalation person at an MCO contact, definitely reach out and we can talk about ways that we can work together for complaint resolution. How to contact the Home Care Ombudsman Program. Anytime, you can definitely contact the Department on Aging Senior Helpline at 800-252-8966. We do get the majority of our complaints through our general mailbox at aging.hcoprogram@illinois.gov. A few of the other resources, I talked about the Long-Term Care Ombudsman Program, and this is their general mailbox in case you have any inquiries. If you have any class members that are interested in cash, SNAP, or applying for the waiver programs, they could do it here through the Department of Human Services. If you have a class member that's enrolled in Health Choice or MMAI and are needing assistance with changing plans or wanting benefit information, we definitely encourage them to call the Illinois Client Enrollment Broker. And we often work with the Center for Independent Living. If someone is on a DHS waiver and they need a personal assistant, we refer them to the Centers of Independent Living. Or if someone is not eligible for HCO services, we refer them to the Centers for Independent Living. So we do have a lot of sister agency partnerships, and we are always willing to share our resources with you guys. Again, I thank you for your time and attention today, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Thank you and have a wonderful day.